A pleasant good day to all you students. I trust that you are having a wonderful day and by extension a wonderful week. This week we are on to Unit 4 as we look at another issue in special education, that of behavior management. By the end of this unit, it is expected that you would be able to define problem behaviors, to describe positive behavioral supports and interventions, explore the challenges in providing behavior modification for students with special needs, explore the causes that lead to challenges in providing school-wide discipline approaches and behavior management of students, that you'd be able to analyze the implications of the special issues presented on this topic for the society, as well as propose resolutions and recommendations for the challenges in providing appropriate instruction. Now, when we talk about behavior management as it relates to the school environment, that translates into a well-managed, inclusive classroom. That type of classroom, in that type of classroom setting, you'd be able to see that students are deeply involved in their work, that they know what is expected of them, and because of that, it leads to their success. Students in this well-managed classroom would have relatively little time to waste because rules are clear, expectations are well defined, and so there is no confusion and very little disruption. And the climate of the classroom is work-oriented, but it is also relaxed and pleasant because of the type of relationship that exists between teacher and student. So what do we mean by behavior? Well, according to Hobbes and others, behavior refers to anything a person does in response to internal or external events. So as in the example of the pictures shown, in the first one, there's a little boy who is seemingly breaking the pencil, and that may be in response to his own frustration. And so the behavior that is demonstrated is the snapping of the pencil. In the second one, the little boy is pulling the other girl's hair. That is a very overt behavior. It's something we can recognize clearly. And so that may be in response to some external event. Maybe she turned around and hit him first. In the third picture, we're seeing a little girl who is teasing. That's a behavior, and it may be based on someone else who is teasing her. So this is her overt response. Covert responses are responses that we may not easily recognize. And most of the times it relates to a student who is very withdrawn and shy, or a student who is depressed or feeling anxious. So behaviors though are observable and measurable. So whether overt or covert, behaviors are observable and they are measurable. When we talk about behavior management being an issue, well, we are aware that students in the environment, in the school environment, will misbehave. Sometimes, depending on what the behavior is, depending on the age and stage of the student, those behaviors can be developmental and deemed normal. But when the behaviors persist, they are deemed to be a problem. When problem behaviors occur in various settings for prolonged periods of time, they can be diagnosed as a disorder. But in the classroom setting, given that you, the teacher, you are in charge, how should you respond to problem behaviors? This is the issue that we're looking at. What should you do to prevent behaviors? And when those behaviors are occurring, what should you do? Let's look at this video and then we'll talk some more. This video addresses a student in the early childhood setting. The early childhood setting looks at students between 2.5 to 7 years old. But even in the primary or elementary school, we know that that age group between 5 and 7, those students are also present. So let's see what's happening here in terms of behavior.
Let's look at a scene in an early childhood environment in which the teachers, like all of us, face difficult behaviors and at times respond in ways that don't help the child learn more positive behaviors.
That's where you don't have to go to sleep, but remember, you have to stay on your mat. It's time to rest and relax. Playing with Wyatt is not a choice. Joshua, turn back around the other way and go lay on your bed. Look at me. Wyatt is trying to rest also. You don't want to mess with him. Wyatt is trying to rest, Joshua. He doesn't want to play. All right, Joshua. Do we need to help you get on your bed? No! No! Tell Miss Leslie what you want. I'm not going to come back over there, Joshua, if you're kicking Miss Debbie. If you would like me to come back over there, you need to ask.
Okay, so in the video, we saw a little boy who was blatantly defying authority. Now we can assume, let's imagine this is a little boy who has a diagnosis of ADHD, inattentive hyperactive behaviors, or let's imagine this is a little boy who has a diagnosis of autism, and so maybe that nap time wasn't according to his schedule, and it isn't something that he's interested in, and so he is also displaying a problem behavior there. Or let's imagine that this is a little boy who is perfectly normal, who was just disinterested in taking a rest at that time. The three scenarios that I just described, all three students can be present in the inclusive setting. The big question is, was the response of the teacher or both teachers that we saw in the video, were those responses correct? Well, because the classroom teacher, both teachers were giving the student the attention that he sought, those behaviors were being negatively reinforced there. When you study behavior management later on in your special education courses, this is something that you will look into further and you'll learn more about. But for the purpose of our discussions now, as we're looking at issues in special education and behavior management being one of those issues, the big question is this: what approach or philosophy are you going to adopt in dealing with behaviors? Because this is going to guide how you respond. Now, many different people have different viewpoints of behavior. Some people say that children behave how they behave because of the psychodynamics that are involved in terms of their development, and Freud and Piaget and others speak about this. Others say that students behave how they behave because it's innate, and that's the biobehavioral viewpoint. Others say that students behave how they behave because of things in the surrounding or the environment that they are in, while others yet believe that behavior is a function of both events and the behavior itself. Well, the approach that is best, according to the literature, is the integrative framework, which takes into consideration all of the things that we just discussed, all of the viewpoints coming together to play on the student's behavior. And therefore we understand that how a student behaves may be as a result of things that are happening around in addition to past experiences. So both the present environmental situation and past experiences, as well as who the child is, by all on his or her own. So what's the best approach to behavior management? Well, the literature also supports the use of a continuum of school-wide instructional and positive behavior support, where interventions are put in place at the school-wide level, which is that green tier that you're seeing there, which takes into consideration the whole school. So at this level, interventions are put in place to deal with students throughout the school setting. The second tier, which is the yellow piece, refers to secondary interventions, which looks at some students, just those who may need some small group work, as well as the tertiary level, which is that red peak there, which is tertiary intervention that does more intensive behavior intervention. Now, this triangle, this pyramid here that you're seeing is very similar to that RTI pyramid that we would have spoken about before. The RTI looks at response to intervention for academics, whereas this here looks at behavior. But we know that there is a very close correlation in terms of success. A student's academic success is also dependent on behavior. So what are some of the things that this week's unit speaks about? As it relates to problem behavior, the big question is, do we believe the child is a problem or that the child has a problem? And so some of the issues up for discussion, some of the concerns, as a matter of fact, related to this issue are secluding and restraining students. Is that ethical? Is it right? Should it be used in the school setting? The whole notion of giving homework. Now, this is also a major concern for many teachers, where teachers complain that students are not completing the given homework assignments. But should homework be evaluated to see if it's effective, if it's useful, and can problem behaviors be curbed as a result of not giving homework? Another thing that we may want to pay attention to as it relates to problem behavior is attention to diversity. So are teachers causing students to misbehave as a result of how the students are being treated in the classroom? Research says that educators need to develop interpersonal relationships with students, because many students in our system now, students who are being abused, students who are coming from their home environments not feeling loved and accepted, feel the same way when they get to school. Some of the things that can be done in the school environment through the school-wide approach for behavior management is to increase the amount of time that the teachers spend with the student on extracurricular activities, as well as improve the network of adults who are available, model caring relationships, and also model to the students proper disciplinary procedures and high expectations. These are some of the things that you can say to your students, that you're interested in them, that you accept them, you want to help, and that they are safe in the school environment. As it relates to school-wide behavior supports, the big question is the school culture and the climate conducive for learning? Now, school-wide behavior support is a strategy that the literature really supports in terms of its effectiveness. But the issues come in when there isn't proper leadership for implementation, when there is not enough support and participation, when there is not enough commitment, when there are challenges related to data collection in the school environment, as well as when persons in the school environment are in denial, not recognizing that there is a need for change. So when we talk about problem solving for this issue of behavior management, it really means that persons need to change their mindset, and the culture of the school environment must improve. This is where I must end. We're all out of time for the recording, but I remind you to complete the unit readings and complete your graded discussion question. Thank you.